everybody, this is Marlon Fantoni 5, and this is going to be my spoiler-free review of Transformers Age of Extinction, starring Mark Wahlberg, Nicola Peltz, and Jack Reynor, along with some others. So, overall, I did enjoy the movie. Now, was it a good movie, is the question. Was it an overall sound, well-put-together film? In my opinion, I do think the critics are giving this a little bit more problems than it should have, as far as the movie reviews. This movie, it's not perfect. There are some problems with it. There are many problems with it, but overall, as a movie, it's not as bad as they're making it out to be. Now, many of these reviews, they're making it out to be worse than Revenge of the Fallen, which is arguably the worst film in the Transformers franchise. This film is not worse than Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. In fact, in personal opinion, I quite enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites. It could be my favorite. It could be probably second favorite. The first Transformers film, it's a classic. But this movie, it's definitely getting torn down a lot more than it should. It is not that bad of a film fundamentally. I really don't understand why, other than the fact that it could be because the critics are just kind of tired of these types of Hollywood films and blockbusters, and they just want to see them go and get pushed out of the way. And even though that might be their goal, I mean, there are some critics that probably wasn't for them, but even if that was some of the critics' goals is to kind of push these films off of the the market for movies. It doesn't seem to work. Age of Extinction has risen to the top of the box office by quite a large margin. It got $100 million over its first weekend, so it has been a very successful film so far, and the critics have not damaged this thing at all, it seems. So on to my review. I'm gonna try to stay as if I can talk right. I'm going to try to stay as non-biased as possible. Now, I am going to have a little bias because, of course, look at the things behind me. I am a Transformers fan, and I am a Transformers movie fan. Specifically, I love Michael Bay's work, so it's hard to stay unbiased when reviewing a movie such as this, especially when I've been anticipating it for 3 years, and I've really looked forward to it. So it is going to be kind of hard to stay unbiased, but I'm going to try to do the best I can. Now we'll go ahead and start off with the plot. The plot of this film, it has a lot of stuff going on. It starts off slow, and then once about the halfway point kind of kicks in, there's just a lot of stuff thrown at you. To the point where I think that the Dinobots should have been left for a future movie. Maybe hinted at, and then, explored in Transformers 5. I think that probably would have been a better option, and I believe that is what Aaron Kruger wanted to do, the writer of the film, but I know there were some people that pushed for the Dinobots to be in this movie specifically, so he added them in there. So, I do think the Dinobots should have been kept for a future movie and just kind of built up, and that is exactly what he wanted to do. That is what the scriptwriter wanted to do. So I agree with him on that. I don't think that they were utilized properly because they didn't have enough build up. They were just kind of thrown in there and said, oh, here they are. So in that aspect, I would have liked them to be saved, even though that does mean that we wouldn't be able to get to see them for a couple more years. But looking back on it, maybe it would have made the movie slightly better. Not better per se, but I feel like it would have fit more in another movie if they had some more build-up and characterization. Now, the pacing of this movie started out great. It was, the first half of this film is the best part of the movie. It is the part that has the least amount of problems, doesn't have too much going on, and it just is an overall better film in the first half. It doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad film in the second half, but it's better in the first half, and it's the part of the movie that I enjoy the most. When seeing it a second time, that is the part where I really enjoyed more than the second half. So that is my, kind of opinion on that. Now, there were some scenes that could have been cut out. This is a 2 hour and 45-minute long movie, so there were some stuff that could have been cut out. Namely, there was one elevator scene that I think should have been just completely knocked out. And there were some others that could have been trimmed as well. So, but I don't see those as major problems. It just kind of dragged out the movie a little bit more, and kind of made some average moviegoers kind of be like, "Oh my gosh, is this thing gonna end or what?" So in that part of the movie, like it could have been trimmed down more. Some extraneous stuff could have been taken out, and it probably would have made it a slightly better film as well if some of that stuff was edited down. Now, in saying that, I do still think that it was paced a lot better than Transformers Dark of the Moon, which the main thing I don't like about Transformers Dark of the Moon, even though it is, a favorite film of mine, I really enjoy that movie, but in that movie, there's just too much going on with Sam job hunting, and it's just a very long sequence looking back on it. It didn't seem like that long when I went to see it in the movies, maybe the first couple times, but after seeing that movie so many times, going back and watching those scenes, it's like I can't do it, and I hit the fast forward button to more robot stuff. So there doesn't seem to be any moments in this movie where I would want to do that. Now, granted, I've only seen this movie twice, but it doesn't seem like there's any parts where it's like, oh my gosh, let's move on already. Now, there are some stuff, like I said, that should be cut, but it's not as heavy as I think Dark of the Moon should have been cut. Now, as far as the things that should have been cut, there was the China stuff felt a bit off in a way. It was like, it wasn't meant to be in the film in the first place, and it was just kind of like thrown in there for pro-China. And especially there was one part when they're speaking Chinese, and one guy lets out this random English line, and when they go back to speaking Chinese, it's like, what? So there was some stuff in there that you could tell that were like, let's just throw this in there about the central government of China, gotta give them a nod and say they're good guys and stuff. So that was the stuff that seemed out of place. But there wasn't too much of that. As far as a movie as a whole, I think it flowed nicely. Just there's some things that could have been trimmed here and there, but overall it was a better edited film than like Revenge of the Fallen or Transformers Dark of the Moon. Now for the acting, I'm going to go through kind of like each of the main characters, starting with Mark Wahlberg. Now Mark Wahlberg, it's very, very hard for me to be non-biased with Mark Wahlberg because he is my favorite actor, so when I heard that he was going to be in Transformers 4, I was very pumped because, Transformers is my favorite movie franchise, and Mark Wahlberg is my favorite actor, so I was pretty pumped about that. Is it Mark Wahlberg's best performance? Well, no. Is it a good performance that fits the movie aesthetic? Yes. It's he fit in well. Like it wasn't like that he kind of felt out of place with these movies. He acted in tone with how these movies are portrayed. It didn't seem like he was trying to overdo it with the acting. Sometimes, like with Shia LaBeouf, it seemed like he just put too much effort into a scene where it was kind of like, yeah, come on now. So Mark Wahlberg, I think, did a good job with this film. Now, Nicola Peltz and Jack Reynor, who of course played the younger boyfriend and girlfriend, and Nicola Peltz, of course, plays Mark Wahlberg's character's daughter. I think they did very good in this film. It was the first big film that both of them have ever done. Nicola Peltz did The Last Airbender, but that wasn't nearly in size of Transformers. Jack Reynor, this is definitely the biggest film he's ever done. He's been in some smaller films in Ireland, and he's also done stuff like Delivery Man. And I think for a first-time big blockbuster movie, he held his own in this as well. And Nicola Peltz, I think, did fine, and I believe that she did a lot better than Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. Because Rosie Huntington-Whiteley just didn't feel like she was a part of it. It just seemed like she was just kind of thrown in last second, which she was. And I give her credit for trying and getting thrust into that experience the last second. But overall, I think Nicola Peltz did a lot better job than her. T.J. Miller, of course, he played the comedic relief and I think, did a great job. He nailed it, I think, as the comedic relief, because he was the least annoying comedy character out of all of these Transformers movies. Other than maybe Stanley Tucci, because Stanley Tucci was kind of a comedic guy as well in this film. So I think the comedy guys, they did great. You know, T.J. Miller, in the small amount of time that he was in the film, I think that he held his own in this, and I think he added a bit to the movie, and he played off of Mark Wahlberg very well, and I think that those two you know, worked together very well in this film. Now, and Stanley Tucci, another funny guy in the movie, he played somewhat funny, somewhat serious. It was kind of a mix between the two. I thought that he was one of the better characters in this film. He played the serious guy very well with the whole, you know, building Transformer stuff. And he also played the guy that was kind of like, you know, in the Hong Kong battle and everything. So I think that he did a good job as well. Kelsey Grammer and Titus Welliver, who of course played two of the main human villains, I think that they were the perfect villains, especially Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer, of all the comedy he's done in his life, he can play one heck of a good bad guy. I was really convinced by his villainous character. He did a great job acting in this movie, and he was just so much better than Patrick Dempsey from Dark of the Moon playing the human villain. I mean, Kelsey Grammer, he just nailed it. He was great in this movie. I really, really, really loved his performance. Titus Welliver, he kind of played like the second-tier human villain. I think he did good as well. And there was one scene. That he said a line when first, you know, seeing Mark Wahlberg's character Cade. It kind of seemed a little out of place, and then come to find out, he tweeted out that he improvised that line when they were filming, so I found that kind of funny. But otherwise, he did a good job as well. I know he's a relatively unknown actor to me. I know he did Lost, which I didn't really watch, and he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit recently, so I think he did a good job as well. The only character that I really did not care for in this movie was Li Bingbing's character. And not saying that she did a bad job with this movie, but I just found her character to be the least convincing out of anybody in the cast, of the main cast at least. I think that her acting could have been improved. It felt a little forced at times, like it wasn't like she was giving A+ effort, and I just feel like whenever she was in there, it was just kind of like, come on, you can do a little bit better. But overall, as a whole, the casting choices, I think, were phenomenal for this movie on its own, and I hope that most of the cast gets to return for the next installment. And I believe it was a step up from the previous trilogy's cast. The robot characterization in this movie was a lot better. There was a lot more interaction between the Autobots, and I really enjoyed that. That there was more, you know, discussions and riffs, and you know, there was just a lot more going on between the Autobots, which we did not get to see much interaction between them or among them in the previous movies. So that was a great, refreshing sight to see that they actually had a lot more characterization. And same with Ratchet. When he was in the movie, Ratchet was, you know, it was just great moments. And so everyone, all the Autobot team members got a little bit of characterization, which is, you know, something that has not been pushed in previous movies. So I really appreciated that. I did like how it prepared for future films. This isn't a spoiler because I'm not going to say how, but it is prepared for future films. It has legs on it, and it can go on for a couple more movies. And it's not going to be like the previous trilogy where it was just taking one movie at a time. It does look like they actually have a plan for an ongoing series of this new trilogy of movies. So I really liked how they did that. They really incorporated that they want an ongoing story, and I just feel like that was a very smart move on their part, and not to just make this a standalone film. Because if it was just a standalone film, then you would have to go back to what the previous trilogy did and be like, okay, how do we connect this movie to the last one? Now they have a building story that they can arc off of, and they can just go from there. It'll make script writing a lot easier. It'll be a lot less plot and continuity errors. So I really feel like that was just a great move on their part to do that. So overall, I enjoyed this movie. I am not going to give it a number rating because I just feel like this is a very hard film to rate. It wasn't the best movie ever done in cinema. It was not the worst movie ever done in cinema, like people like to claim. Now, as far as where it ranks along my movie list of top movies, I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a really fun time. I came out of it pumped. I was really excited. I was like, wow, that was extremely awesome. I loved it. But I just really find it hard to give a number rating. So I'm not going to do that. And I really do feel like sequels are hard to rate. Because it's like, okay, well, you have to compare them to the last sequels. And then you don't want to get them too high of a rating because that leaves no room for improvement with future sequels. So I really find like, it's like the fourth film in the franchise. It makes it harder to rate and give a number. So I'm not going to give it a number, but I did really enjoy it a lot. And I do hope Michael Bay returns to just finish off this trilogy before we get a fresh look at the Transformers franchise. Because he has an ongoing plan, it looks like. I just want to see him finish it out, finish out his vision of the movies, of the live-action Transformers, and then we'll take on someone else for the 7th live-action Transformers movie, which will probably be a reboot. But as far as the 6 movies, the next 2, I really do hope Michael Bay continues just to finish off his job and, seal the deal with his, Transformers run. And I really do not think that these movies are as bad as what critics are saying. This is not by far not as bad as Revenge of the Fallen. I do think I like it more than Transformers Dark of the Moon, and it is pretty up there with the first Transformers movie, so it's going to probably end up slotting into the 1 or 2 spot on my favorite Transformers films. It had its cheesy moments, it had its problems, but this was not an overall bad film. This was very enjoyable, it had good moments, and it was definitely, like I said, not as bad as what critics are making it out to be. So that is my thoughts, non-spoiler review on Transformers Age of Extinction. If you agree or disagree with me on some of my points, make sure to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try and get back to you. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy it, or leave a thumbs down even if you didn't, just to kind of let me know, and get your guys' opinions. And just something I'd like to say is, if you did not like this movie, don't rain down on the other parties that did like this movie. I really don't like that. I feel like it's really trying to drag other people down with you that did enjoy this movie, so let them enjoy it. If you didn't like it, just say you didn't like it. Maybe just have a civil conversation with somebody who did like it. But don't just call people stupid for liking this movie, or say they have a low IQ, or they're morons, because that's not true. Some of us just have different tastes than others and like different things. So, I'm really getting sick of that, and just, remember that when you're talking to somebody who likes the movies. Just don't be an idiot, don't be a jerk. I can't stand that. So, little side rant here at the end. But, so yeah, overall, did enjoy the movie. I'm going to probably go see it for a 3rd time, maybe this coming weekend, and, kind of just, get some more details and thoughts out of it. Now, there will be a spoiler review coming soon. I think that's going to be multiple parts because I'm going to be discussing certain plot elements and details. So, look forward to that coming soon. And also, in the first part of the spoiler review, that is when I will be showing some of your guys' pictures that you took before or during the Age of Extinction premiere when you guys went and saw that. So, I will be posting those on my spoiler review for Age of Extinction. So, that just about does it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and go out, enjoy the film, and I wish Age of Extinction and Michael Bay and its stars all of their success. And so, until next time, signing out, I am MarlonFantasy95. See ya. Hey everybody, we're on our way to see Transformers 4! We're going to Vlog! Yeah. Eventually. Transformers 4, so excited. Yeah. Woo! Got my Transformers gear on. No! Spoilers!
I really can't wait until that day when everyone dies.